A government intends to build a new international airport. This is question number 9, in an area of outstanding natural beauty. So, what would be an external cost of this decision? So, let's unpack what an external cost is before we answer. So, external cost is a cost that affects others, because the word is external, so it's others who are not directly involved in the decision. So it means it's like the public, okay? These are like included in the external, public and the environment. So these costs are not paid by the government or the developers, but they are felt by society. Again, these external cost examples are, public communities, the environment. So let's analyze each choice. If your answer is letter A, it's wrong. Okay, the cost of importing construction materials. This is a private cost. Why? Because it's paid by the government or the builder. Again, this is not an external cost, but it is a private cost. Letter B, the enjoyment lost by those unable to use the countryside because the government will build an airport. So this is the loss of public access. This is the loss of the natural beauty. So people lose relaxation. Okay, the community will lose the connection to nature, the well-being. So this is a very clear example of external costs because it affects others outside the project. So the answer is letter B. Okay, so letter C, the increase in profits for local businesses. This is actually an external benefit, okay, not a cost, because the it's a more profit isn't really harmful, but it helps the local economy. So it is a benefit, not a cost. And letter D, the wages paid in the construction workers. Wages paid, okay, so it means the government pays the workers. So this is obviously a private cost for the company or the government. It's part of the project expense, so it is not an external cost, it's a private cost. So the answer is letter B, the enjoyment lost by those unable to use the countryside. This is really a great example of why economic decisions must consider also the social, the people, the environmental impacts, not just only the financial ones. Question number 10, what does a central bank do? This is a no-brainer, okay? Because like a central bank is like the brain of the country's financial system, and it doesn't really serve everyday customers like you and me, but central bank guides the economy as a whole. So let's take a look at the options. Okay, what is an important role? It attempts to achieve price stability, of course. This is the correct answer. What does it mean? The central bank works to keep the prices of goods and services from the rising too fast. Okay, it keeps the prices of goods from increasing too fast. We're talking about inflation or falling too much, deflation. So it means that central bank is controlling the inflation, okay, or deflation, and making sure the prices don't go wildly, up and down. So is it really important? Yeah, how it works. Central bank really use tools like interest rates making the loans cheaper or more expensive, and it really controls how much money is circulating in the economy. And it really matters because stable prices really help the people and the businesses plan ahead. And it's really important because it protects the value of money and support the long-term growth. So this is really the mission of every central bank in all parts of the world, okay, including those in developing regions. So number one, or the option A, is really the correct answer to achieve the price stability. How about letter B? Central bank issues credit cards. So let me explain a very quick one. Okay. Credit cards are usually offered by the commercial banks, not the central banks. So the commercial banks deal directly with the people, with the public, and central banks provide personal, that's a term, personal financial services. And central banks do not give out credit cards because they focus on the overall health of the economy. Okay, overall, the totality health of the economy and not the individual accounts. Again, commercial banks issue credit cards. Letter C provides loans to producers. Okay, let me clarify. Producers, when we talk about producers, we talk about the factories, the farmers, okay? And usually they get loans from the commercial banks, or sometimes usually development banks. And central banks might support the lending indirectly, for example, by lowering the interest rates to encourage the commercial banks or the development banks to lend them cash. But they don't, okay? But central banks do not directly fund the producers and individual businesses. Again, in terms of the loan, okay, the producers will get the loan from the commercial banks or development banks. And central bank's role is just to, one way to help the commercial banks and development banks is just to, lower the interest rates to encourage lending. Letter D, provide savings accounts for consumers. So you have the clues: saving accounts and consumers. Just like the credit cards, the saving accounts are managed by the commercial banks. So central banks do not offer services to everyday people like you and me, okay? So no ATMs, debit cards, or savings account, okay? Because the central banks work behind the scenes to guide the economy. So again, the answer is the role is to attempt to achieve the price